Hello and welcome to Makers.dev episode number 57. Chris, hello.
Hello. How's it going?
It's going well. The air in this room is very dry. I've been on a constant mission to pump up the humidity. Right now, it's at 37%, which is with a humidifier going on full blast. I've ordered a new humidifier from researching different humidifiers on YouTube that's going to pump out. It's a whole house humidifier that I'm going to have for like a tiny little bedroom. And it has a humidistat, I think it's called, or a hydrometer that figures it out, and it's going to just pump more water into the air. So that's what I've been thinking about for the last couple days.
Yeah.
And a bunch of other stuff too.
Good luck on your humidity mission. Yeah, it's dry here too. It's just a thing. Yeah.
I had no idea how many things it impacted. Of like allergies are worse, and you get sicker easier, and you feel worse, and you don't sleep as well. Yeah, it's a thing. Let's jump into it. How did your mission go to get AcornChat in Slack?
Yes. So you gave me the task to. There are 4 things that I have to do. One is features, the other is documentation, and then there's like marketing stuff, and then actually getting it in the store. I got stuck on the first one, which is features, which may be predictable, but yeah. So I did actually get it booted and everything, and started doing the feature thing. Realized I did not leave it in as well as a place as I thought I left it. It's been a while since I've run it, so I got stuck in the features of trying to get it done. So we can talk all about that. Part of the reason that I got stuck, though, also is because I did some MeetingPlace, actually. I haven't done that for a while. Someone reached out. They're a group in Chicago, and they had some feature questions. They went from like 0 to 100 people like right away, so they converted their whole existing group, which is cool.
Oh, wow.
But then they were like, hey, can you do this? And I was like, I've wanted to do that for a while. And so I actually worked on that some. Yeah, and then I did Kaggle for the rest. So we can talk about all those things. But I got stuck on features.
Let's dig into it. What were the features you got stuck on, and what in particular did you spend the most time on? Was the sticking place?
So so I've been trying to figure out if I could, like not build everything I want to build to make it like super functional. And I just want to release a really good product, right? Like I want, even if nobody uses it, I want it to be good, which is what you and I have talked about before. And so I started doing the one where it can tell if you're online or not, like through Slack. That brought up a list of things that I know I need to do in order to be like, for that to be consistent and like reliable. I have to have like a background thing checking it, and then like I need a checker and a checker for the checker, and like all these things to make sure, even on Heroku, if it goes down, then you have to recheck, and then how often do you recheck and stuff. And so it's a kind of feature that in particular is a kind of feature where there's lots of little things that can go wrong, and it's hard to test because it's like, well, how do you test that your server fails and that kind of thing. So that for one just took longer than I expected it to, and it's not done yet. And then once I started doing that, I was like, oh, I want these buttons to look different, and some of that stuff, which I know I could not do, and then other stuff like I started a new list of features of things that are like, if someone actually bought this product, they're going to want this. And I don't know. I could just finish the first one, which is what I should do. That's what I planned on doing, and it's just taking longer than I thought it would, and I should probably just finish it. So as my boss should probably just tell me to finish it. But the rest of it's like stuff I want to do to make a nice product. So it's all stuff we've talked about before. But yeah, getting stuck on making it good instead of making it available.
Man, get out of my head. I feel like professionally we are the same person. Down to the buttons. Oh man, one of the first times I tried to go through this recoding of file inbox to be serverless. No joke, I spent 4 weeks theming the buttons of like, this is the perfect button, and oh, this pixel perfect. You hover over it and it goes down, and like, it didn't matter. like how much better would the world have been if instead of wasting those 4 weeks on that, I like just got something out there. Perfect is the enemy of good. Yep. If I had gotten an okay product shipped, that would have been so much better than this now waste. I don't even know where those buttons are that I made. It's lost in some branch of a repo of some fork of it that I haven't looked at in months. Yeah, I get it. It's difficult to get sucked down feature hole. Okay, so like the thing that I would want in this sort of position is a push forward of like, do you really need this feature? If the thing you're trying to get after is just get this published, just get it on the Slack App Store, in its current state, without offline, online support, can it help someone? And I totally get the sentiment of like, you want it to be good, but you know, if you publish it, it's not like every single person that could possibly want to use it is going to see it immediately and evaluate it and be like,
Right,
there's no
obviously,
online offline support. I'm not going to use it. It's like these things can be incrementally improved. Is this truly really a deal breaker that like this is the line of functionality, or can you ship something subpar that's not perfect that is able to help people?
It either needs this or it needs the ability to capture things as an email automatically. So I'll explain. So if you're not on Slack and someone comes to your website and they chat in the little chat window, right now it just gets lost. Well, it doesn't get lost. It goes to Slack, so you see what they said, but you can't respond in any way. You have no way to get back to them because they'll be long gone off your site for them. So that's a pretty much a deal breaker, I would think. For like that means you either have to be on Slack 24/7, or your customer, you lose like the ability to respond to your customers, which is the whole point of the thing.
Yeah.
So this feature or a feature to capture email addresses automatically, they're offline right now. Would you like to send them an email instead? That feature. One of those two is I would say mandatory for it to live up to, for it to be functional. Yeah.
Okay. Is one of those easier than the other? Capturing the person's email seems pretty straightforward. That just like, when you send the first message, that's a 2-field form now. I type in my email address and the message, and then you save that somewhere.
Yes. So based on the work that I've already done, it was going to be about as hard. Based on the work I've already done, that's probably the easier path to take than what I was doing. So yeah, I could do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You don't sound excited.
Well, I'm just trying to think. I'm trying to trying to figure out why I did this, other than I know that I always do this. And part of it is because of one of the other things, which is Kaggle, which we can talk about. So the Kaggle competition I've been doing for the rest of the week got me really frustrated, and it was because I can explain why, but I was frustrated from that, and so I went back to something that I know I had complete control over, which is doing features for something on my local machine, right? And so I'm trying to internalize as I'm talking about, like, did I go back to features because I was frustrated on the Kaggle thing? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that too. It's I'm excited to talk about this in my update, but I had something similar happen to me this week. I got completely sidetracked working on a Wordle solver, but it feels really good, and it's nice to like get in that flow and like, I have an idea for a thing, and I'm gonna make it, and it's very nice, and I can do this thing to make it a little bit nicer, and I've made this thing now. Oh, it's so good. That's the type of work, that's the type of flow that I just thrive in, that feels really good. And it's frustrating that sometimes that's not, well, often that's not the best path towards helping people more, which is the way that I make money and improve the world. And like, working on this feature sounds like it wasn't wasted, that this is an important feature, and it sounds like you're really wanting to nail down that like you're doing this in the right way. You're building this in a way that there isn't technical debt, that there's like monitors to make sure the servers on Heroku aren't going down, and I don't know that I can fault that. Like, it may very well be that you worked on this in the best way that was possible to work on it. But I do just want to push on that a little bit of like, is there an easier way to get to this being on the Slack App Store? Or did we underestimate the amount of time needed to get a good product that you felt like was the minimum viable package or something that could help people? And this amount of time was needed.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like I'm not like I'm sort of flailing a lot because my week was just sort of like and so that's why I don't have a great update this week, just like last week, but
that's fair.
That's right.
Yeah. Same. It's unlike last week. This was a week where I didn't do the work that would have been the best for me to do. Cool. Well, looking forward, what makes the most sense to like allocate time towards? Still aiming at getting AcornChat as a thing that can help people in the Slack App Store. From zooming out, like from the boss level, what's the quickest path to get this app published?
Yeah, I know I won't want to until this feature's done, and I'm mostly through it, and so I want to just finish it, even though it'll take a few more days. Like,
okay.
I mean, it took significantly longer than I thought it would. For just things explode in complexity once you get into them, right? And so I still need to do it. So yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
Yep.
Well, I'm excited for bulletproof online notifications that you know for sure that someone is online or offline, and you even know if the infrastructure that can tell if someone's online and offline, that's also going to be online. Neat. Talk to me about the Kaggle competition. This is the pet one where like how good is this pet photo? You said that was frustrating. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So I did it 3 completely different ways, and within those 3 ways, I tried many different things, and I got to nearly the exact same answers on all 3 ways. This is discussed in the forums, and like it was discovered before I discovered it, but I discovered the same thing, which is if you just predict if it's a dog or cat, and then predict the mean score for dog or cat, you get almost to the top. And so it's like they did not give enough information to actually complete the task. Which was, for people listening, this is where you have to basically predict how much web traffic a pet application is going to get on a pet adoption website just based on the photo alone. But the very biggest problem is that it's almost entirely determined by what other pictures are showing up on the screen at a time. And as an example, in the training data, there are 2 pictures of the same dog, like the dog got listed twice or something, and it has a score separated by almost like 30 points out of 100. Yeah, and right now the average error is like 17 or something. So like the same dog, can have like double the score, or like double the error.
Okay, that sounds like you're overfitting to the data then. If like that, you shouldn't be able to predict any better than 30% if that's the spread. Okay.
So it's just really frustrating because like you spend a lot of time on it, and it's like some problems don't want to be solved by machine learning because the data just is not good enough.
Yeah. How frustrating.
Yeah.
What's the advice you would give to the owner of this pet website for how they could present you with a solvable problem?
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see when the competition ends. Usually there's more information that comes out about like what the top teams did. So it will be interesting to see if they found anything or if they're just overfitting to the public leaderboard. And this site has actually run a competition before a few years ago. And there they were, instead of predicting like clicks on a website, they were predicting adoption speed, which I feel like is a better indicator because that is not, I mean, it is based on what other pets are available at the time, but it's not as strictly based on like what other pets one person is seeing, because like on a page. So it's more like that one will be more like, the age and the breed will determine it, which is part of what determines how many clicks it gets like on a site. But so it's probably something like make sure the thing you're trying to predict is aligned with what you're actually trying to figure out. So getting clicks on a pet finding website is good, but really you want, dogs and cats that are adopted faster so you can turn them over faster.
Yeah. Okay, so if they redo this competition next month and they make it, instead of clicks, we're going to have a spin-off of the previous competition we did where it's trying to figure out actual adoption. If that was the only thing they changed, do you feel like that would be enough to have a meaningful competition?
No, because I don't think this is the type of problem that's very well solved with machine learning. Like it's sort of unpredictable. And so, if your data doesn't support what you're doing, then you're not going to be able to solve the competition. I did think of another thing, which is something that would be very helpful was even just for the training data, if they told us what pets were listed alongside of the pets, then you could like sort of normalize for, so like, you know, all the pets that are listed at a time, and you see this one gets way more clicks than this one, then you can kind of normalize for what pets are on the site at any one time. And even if they didn't have that for test data and just had it for training data, then that would give better results. So if they just wanted to do one thing to improve it now, it would just be give more data, even just for training data. And I think that would improve. Like, the more data you have, the better you're going to be able to predict.
Okay. And then the rough thing you'd be doing in AI is looking at like how, I feel gross for using this word, but attractive are the pets around the given pet. So like, you know, if you've got a ugly Chihuahua and he's surrounded by golden retrievers, people are going to click less on the Chihuahua, or maybe they'd click more on it because now it's the one different in the sea.
Exactly. Yeah. The thing is, you don't care. You let the machine tell you. So it might be that people click on the weird looking Chihuahua more because it's unique. And so you don't have to worry about attractiveness of pet or anything like that. You just say, here's all the things, here's how many times I got clicked, and like, you know, tell me what type of pet is clicked on. And what they really want to know is what type of photo. They basically want to make sure that all pets are given the best chance that they have to get adopted. And so like, you know, out of 20 photos, can you sort of rank them and tell me which one I should show so that people who want a pet like this click on it. That's kind of what they want. So
having used the word attractiveness, my mind is now going to dating apps. Like, it seems like this, whatever techniques you're using to solve this problem would also be useful for dating apps. If you went to like, if OkCupid hosted a competition and was like, hey, given this person's profile and this list of the potential photos they could put, which one should we put as the first position? Which I think Tinder actually does.
I don't know if it was Tinder, but one of the apps released a whole bunch of statistics about like, is it better to have animals in your photo? Is it better to have multiple people? Is it better to have whatever? They released all that information, which is very interesting to look at. Yeah.
I love it. What a weird world we're living in. I'm curious. You mentioned that the simplest strategy that seems to be performing as good as the best strategies is just detect if it's a cat or a dog, and then give the mean score for cat or dog. I'm curious.
Which is not helpful.
It's like, here's your tip for taking a picture of your dog. Make it a cat. What's the difference in the mean between cats and dogs? Which pictures get clicked on more?
I think dogs are higher, but they have higher variance as well.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's harder to take a good picture of a dog, it seems, and cats are sort of all average.
Cats are consistent. You can't take a bad photo of them. That's funny. Huh. Neat. Well, noted. This is an important lesson, I think, for like applying AI to business, that you have to have enough. I think we've talked about this before, but you have to have enough understanding of like what is capable in ML to be able to frame a problem in a way that you're actually going to get a useful answer. It's like the old Douglas Adams joke about the answer to life, the universe, and everything being 42. Like, it wasn't a good question. Ask a different question. Ask one that you have enough information to give a meaningful answer on.
Yeah. And like I said, the competition is over next week, and so it may be that the top team actually figured something out. So it's not over yet. Maybe I'm proved wrong next week. But as of right now, I'm getting like, the top team is like 17.5 or something, and I can get like, you know, like right now I'm sitting at 18, but I have a thing that I'm going to upload, which I think will be like 17.8 or something. So like, you know, 0.3 difference out of 17. So like,
which seems
much difference.
Like, it seems like gambling at this point, that because there was the same pet uploaded twice, and they had a 30-point spread. You said
it was something like 30. Yeah.
Okay. Like, you're playing an ML game of like who can happen to match the secret test data the best. That's frustrating. It's cool that you, like, you know, even in this case of like you haven't meaningfully solved this problem, like you still got better at machine learning and learned techniques that in the future, if Tinder ever has a Kaggle competition, like you could do the same thing. I imagine it's going to be a similar heuristic for getting to the top of like figure out if it's a man or a woman first, and if it's a woman, it's going to get clicked on much more. But yeah, cool. Yeah, I like this sort of game where like you can't lose even if it goes poorly. So
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. I learned a whole bunch of stuff. I started reading ML papers, which I'd done before, but not as much as I have recently. And that's like the way that you get better after you take all the regular classes and you kind of know all the things. The way you get better is by reading the papers that come out, because they are like, that's how the state of the art is pushed forward. And they're pretty, they're both not readable at all and also pretty readable. Like you have to do, when you submit a paper, you have to do this song and dance where you like have eight pages of like equations and stuff just to get like accepted places. But then usually there's a few sentences in there that describe your like entire method. And as long as you know, as a reader can find those few sentences and understand them, then like you can get the whole thing and just skip all the equations. And so, I got better at doing that.
Cool. Improved your process of reading papers. I love it. How, the master's program you haven't talked about in a while.
Yeah, it's because it starts this week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That
Starts,
makes sense.
Yeah. Next semester starts soon.
Good. I was worried I was being a terrible friend and not asking you about.
Nope.
The thing. Okay. Good. Cool. You mentioned also MeetingPlace work that you had the customer with 100 members.
Yeah.
Yes. Come on. I was confused about the nomenclature of like you have customers and then they have members. Yes.
They have members. Yeah.
How did that feature go? What was the feature that you implemented that you were holding back on?
Yeah, so it's not done yet, but so like sites, a lot of sites, they have their own site and they just use MeetingPlace, like say Eventbrite, which is like the back end for tickets basically. And so what they want to show on their site is like a calendar of upcoming events, which makes a lot of sense. And there's an API you can use to get that information, but they're not a developer. And so they just want a piece of HTML they can plug in to like actually show a calendar with upcoming events.
Yeah.
So that's nearly done. Actually, a lot of the AcornChat work helped with that because like it's an embed, right? Which is what AcornChat is. And so, so I will soon have just a little embeddable widget, which is a calendar and then all your upcoming events. And then you can click on that to like go over to MeetingPlace to actually RSVP and stuff. So that's something I wanted for a long time and they asked for it and I'm going to, build it for them.
I'm glad I asked you because I'm curious how you're doing embeds. That's also something I have to do for File Inbox. The way I'm currently doing it is in an iframe, but that was the best practice of like when I was implementing it like 10 years ago. What is the strategy you're using right now? I've seen like you inject the HTML and that makes it more themable, and there's also all these things of like shadow DOM stuff where it's like its own separate CSS class. What was the solution that you landed on?
Yeah, so iframe is easiest for sure, especially if you want to do anything with cookies, because the iframe can actually, you can manage cookies with an iframe where you can't, like from their site, unless you, I don't know if you can or not. I don't think so. Yeah, so iframe is the easiest. Oh.
Cool. Noted. I will continue using iframes then probably for this serverless recode project. We'll never get done. No, that's not true. It will. I'm going to do it. Cool. I would love to talk about some of the stuff I got up to this last week.
Yep.
I think the way I would characterize this week is productive procrastination. I had in the back of my mind, Chris has given me these 4 things to do. But 2 of them are having conversations with customers. And like, who's to say if I'm actually going to be able to get that done? Like, there's only 4 days left until I record the podcast. So can I really reach out to 20 people and, get 2 of them to sign up? And that would just be such a hassle in scheduling. So I might as well not do that at all and just have that in the back of my head as this force driving me forward of like, there's this work that I'd rather not do. That's clearly important. That's something I made a public commitment to on this podcast. So I would rather do anything else. Yep. So what I ended up doing was, are you familiar with the Wordle puzzle?
I have seen it all over Twitter. I have not actually clicked on it, sort of out of spite at this point. So
good.
Please explain what it is.
Don't. So for listeners who have not been on Twitter in the last month, Wordle is a word puzzle that's been going viral where the gist of the game is you're trying to guess a word, and you have 6 chances to guess the word, and each one of your guesses has to be a dictionary word. All of the words also are only a length 5. So when you guess a word, you get feedback on if you got a letter in your guess correct, and if that letter was in the correct position. So if the actual word is, A, and you guess, well, I'll do it differently. If the actual word is A, B, 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 and you guess A, B, A, this might be difficult to keep track of, actually. In a simpler case, if it was 3 letters and the actual word is A, B, A, and you guess A, B, then the first letter of your guess, A, is the correct. That letter is included in the word, and it's in the correct position, so that letter will be green. The second letter of your guess, I think I said it was A, that's in the word, but it's not in the correct position, so that's going to be yellow. And then the third letter is B of your guess, but it's... I've completely lost track of what I was saying. You get the idea.
I get it.
So you keep guessing and you keep getting feedback. And so, I had seen these cryptic Wordle emoji things pop up on Twitter, and the format of it is someone says I got it in the third one, and I was confused about the second word, and it'll say Wordle puzzle 207, and I used 3 out of my 6 guesses. And then it'll be a grid of the colors of the letters that you got. So, if you got none of the letters correct, it's going to be all gray. So that'll be the top row of the tweet. And then the second row is it was green, and then gray, and then yellow, and then gray, and then green. Meaning, you got the first and last letter correct, and the third letter is in the word but not in the correct position. And you get to see until the last row, it's all green. So I had seen this pop up on Twitter. I was like, what the heck is this? And I Googled Wordle and didn't see something, and I searched in the App Store, and there was this terrible game in the App Store that I don't think is the official game. It's just someone taking advantage of its popularity. And had a friend link it to me, and I guessed one guess and felt this fire in my bones of this is a problem I can solve. Because it's very similar to this board game called Mastermind, where it's the same sort of thing but with colored pegs. I think there's 5 different colors of pegs, and you take turns. One person is the code breaker, and one person is the code master. The code master sets a secret code with different colors of pegs, and then the code breaker guesses, and you get the same sort of feedback of how many pegs did I get that were the correct color, and how many did I get that were the correct color in the correct position. And you're trying to solve this really interesting game, cryptographically, algorithmically. That's a game that I was already familiar with, and I was familiar with the solution because I played it with a friend who's a mathematician. And he was like, "Oh, this is a thing we could solve. How would you do this?" And there was a paper published by Donald Knuth, who, among other things, invented the big O notation and 3 other huge accomplishments that you'd be familiar with that I can't remember right now. So I had tried to read through his paper and read through a different summary, but understood the gist of what he was trying to do of the strategy is you're trying to guess a word that's going to minimize the maximum possible remaining words. So you want to make a guess that's going to reduce the possible set, and you want to keep doing that until there's only one word left. So I just had so much fun. I was doing our strategy of live tweeting as I was developing it, and started off with just these utility functions of trying to figure out how do you evaluate a guess and what's the data format that I'm going to be formatting this in, and went all the way up to a published site, wordlesolver.com, where you can go for all your Wordle solving needs. Just completely over-engineered of it's deployed on Vercel and it's serverless and it's in React, and I did all these clever optimizations of memoization or that's not what it's called, caching. Oh my gosh, when you cache a function,
Memoization, probably.
Memoization? Okay. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, so it's just beautiful, and it was so much fun. And in the process of doing this, I had a whole bunch of people who were retweeting me, and one of my tweets was talking about how easy it was to deploy stuff on Vercel, and the CEO of Vercel retweeted me, and that tweet now has some 4,000 impressions or something. So that feels really cool. I was reminded that building in public is a lot of fun, and this series of tweets officially pushed me over 2,000 Twitter followers.
Oh,
which
good.
I'm very excited about. And also, it was just a really fun project. That was my... that's what took up the majority of my mental bandwidth this last week.
Yeah. I mean, I had a similar week, so I can't say anything bad about that. Productive procrastination is something that we both do a lot. And yeah, I mean, that's neat. One of the things, I mean, we could talk about Wordle some more, but one of the things I'm interested in is what you said about like how you had something important to do, but it was a little unclear. And so you went this other direction. And that's how I feel all the time. Like if I can get a lot done if I have something else more important to get done. Yeah. And it's something I would like to solve for, but I don't know exactly how. I don't know if it's possible to. Yeah, if I have something important to get done, then a lot of other stuff's going to get done.
Yeah, same. Like, looking back on this week, I'm really happy with what I got done. I did this, and that was really fun, and I pushed forward a bunch of other projects, like pushed forward a bunch of midnight time tracker features that have been stuck in the pipeline, and pushed forward Camhead. I'm rewriting it in Electron, and pushed forward like our podcast automatic editor, figuring out the audio quality. Like
cool.
on the whole, it was wonderful. If I could consistently have a week like that every single week, like great, it'd be wonderful. But like, I'm not happy that to get there, I had to also set a goal for myself that I didn't achieve. Like, because it feels like if I set my goal towards like, okay, this next week, let's have a nice creative week. Let's like, find a word game online to solve and, push forward these other projects and draft a blog post. That if I set my goal there, I would just slide down one more step. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what to do about that either. Like, should we just is the output of the "Won't you be my boss" routine just that like now we have something that's important that now we can get something done that's less important than that? I don't know how I feel about that, but like that would be okay. That's what I'm working with.
Yeah, I hope not, but also it'd probably be okay.
Oh man, so frustrating. Yeah, part of that too, I think, is just like I would like to be better at getting done the things that I set forward to be done. So I would like to talk with you about the goals for next week. I think it's reasonable to keep them how they are. Also, small update, my executive assistant starts later today, which I'm excited about. Yes, I'm going to put her to the task of helping me knock down my customer support emails. That is getting pushed forward. Also, the banner ad that we talked about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, yeah?
That's getting done. That's happening.
All right.
Yes. We can keep the goals for this next week exactly the same because I have made no progress on them. But I'm curious if we can work together to increase the likelihood that it actually gets done. As a reminder, the things we set were writing one article about how sign printers can use File Inbox and checking to make sure that it can be indexed by Google. The second was sending 20 emails to new sign printers, inviting them to an interview. And then the third and fourth were talking to each of them with the Deploy Empathy framework. I feel nervous that didn't get done last week. And talking about it now, it feels manageable and feels like, I was just being lazy. And I should have pushed myself to get those done. But if you have input on how we could increase the likelihood, that's something I'd like to talk about.
Yeah. Did you do anything on the article one either? Or did you just ignore all of them?
Nope.
Okay.
I ignored all of them.
I
feel bad about that.
Yeah, no. So this is good feedback for me as your fake boss because you behaved exactly like I would have, and so I can give you more like sort of directed feedback. I think we should change them. I think we should change the goals. Okay. And so I will make 4 that I think are ones that are more like something that I would be more likely to do.
Okay.
I still want you to find 20 people that you could potentially talk to.
Okay.
So that's one POM, and it may be with your executive assistant. I don't know. Depends on how that goes, or it may be just by yourself, but just find 20 people you can talk to. The next one is going to be to send 20 emails.
Okay.
So you don't have to actually talk to people, but you do have to send 20 emails.
Love
it. The next one, then, I would say come up with 10 different articles you could write. And then the next one is to write a draft of at least one of those. So you don't have to publish it, but write a draft.
Yeah, I like it. I like what you're doing there too. Like you're splitting it apart, and also
Yeah, I'm splitting it up. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so maybe I shouldn't tell you this because we'll see how it turns out. But when I think about tasks, like, so writing a draft is way different than writing a published piece.
Yeah.
And I'll actually write a draft. And once I have a draft, it seems dumb not to publish it.
Yeah.
So I suspect if you actually write a draft, you will publish it.
Yes.
The same thing with contacting 20 people. If you contact 20 people and any of them respond, then I know that you will figure out how to respond, to them as well.
Yes.
So, yeah, that's why these are all tasks I think like you can control. None of them are scary. Hopefully, maybe sending 20 emails might be, but otherwise, yeah. And let's change 20 to 10. Send 10 emails.
Okay.
Yeah, because sending 20 cold emails can be a lot. So yeah, send 10.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, and that's something I could reasonably do in 25 minutes. That feels good. Cool. Yeah, that feels much better. I see why they pay you the big bucks to be the boss.
That's right. All $0. All right.
Yeah, I similar to writing a draft, like, yeah, if I send 10 emails, well, you said this, like, if I send 10 emails inviting people to a chat, like, of course I'm just going to do the chat, but that doesn't need to be the thing that I'm, like, pushing myself to do. That feels like it'll just sort of happen. Yeah, okay, good. Something I thought about is that I have access to this forum now of sign printers. I could do a post in this forum similar to, I think one of the examples in the Deploy Empathy book is talking about, like, here's an example post you can put on Reddit to invite people to talk to you and, like, offer them a gift card or something. That's also a thing I can do. That's it. That's my thought. that's a thing I can do also.
I mean, why don't you, as part of your coming up with 10 ideas for posts, at least one of them maybe should be something you could put on a sign printing website. My initial reaction is that, number one, you just found this place, so I wouldn't, like, you don't want to burn it too quickly. Like, if you just post some semi-spammy looking, come, I'll give you gift cards, then people may ignore everything else you have to say.
Yeah, especially if it's my first post. Okay.
So that feels a little weird. But as part of your, the task, as part of your come up with 10 things, have at least a few of them be things you could post on that forum. Yeah.
Okay. Including things I could post on the forum. Good. And then I'm going to get the banner ad done, and I'm going to have my personal assistant get set up to do customer support email. Cool. Sounds like that's getting meaningfully pushed forward. Thank you. This has been very helpful. Yes, good. Good job, both of us. Maybe not me last week, but yes. Cool. Sounds good. I have one more small fun segment called Dude, Where's My Chipotle?
Okay.
So I ordered Chipotle, as you do, and schedule it to be delivered. And we got to be somewhere in about an hour. And delivery says it's going to take 20 minutes. So I'm like, great, perfect. We'll have time to eat and then get ready and then go. And I order it, and it says the person is driving to the restaurant to go pick it up. And then they stay at the restaurant for like half an hour. And I'm like, oh, we're starting to run up on the time that we need to leave. And they've been there a while. I have never done this, but let me tap the button that says I can call them to just see what's going on. Like, did they run out of guacamole? And they're waiting for the guacamole to get on there. So I call them, and it's a voicemail that lists their number in the voicemail. Potential security threat with this model of, like, it has the proxy number going through. Like, I have their actual phone number now, but I digress. I call them, it goes straight to voicemail. And then about 40 minutes later, I see them just start moseying out, and they're driving up, and they, like, take a wrong turn, and then they go back up, and then they drive all the way around here. And I'm like, do they have multiple deliveries? And they were trying to, like, optimize for it. Whatever. We're still going to get it. And, like, I've called and made arrangements so that I can be late to this thing. And then I see on my app, it's been delivered. And I think, great. So I go outside. But what do I see, Chris? I see a suspicious lack of burritos. There are none. So I call the other number that's like, if there's a problem with your delivery, call this number. And I call it and say, hello. This person was 40 minutes late in delivering my Chipotle. And I went outside to check for it, and it's not there. And the woman said, "I'm so sorry. That sounds so frustrating." And I'm like, very good empathy training. Like, good. And she's like, "Hang on one second. Let me call and see if this delivery person just left it in a weird place." So about 2 minutes later, she gets back on the phone and says, "Hello. I tried to call, but it went straight to voicemail." And I was like, "I know, right?" And she said, "We're going to send you a full refund." So I said, "Oh, great." This came to a conclusion very quickly. That's my story of Dude, Where's Your Chipotle? If you'll notice, first it was Dude, Where's My Car? An item worth approximately $3,000. Then it was Dude, Where's My Laptop? An item worth approximately $2,000. And now it is a bag of Chipotle burritos, which was worth approximately $30. So I feel like my magnet for crime is weakening in intensity. And that's my story from this last week.
You do realize you need something stolen every week now to continue this. Yeah. That's interesting. We've gotten a lot of stuff delivered because of COVID, and I don't think we've ever had a missed delivery. I don't know. Yeah.
It's kind of amazing, right? Like, the world is really cool. We were trying to theorize about like what happened if they wanted to quit and also were hungry, so they just went and picked up a Chipotle delivery, and then were like, "Well, I'm just gonna eat this and then drive around." I don't know what happened, because I'd like to have a charitable interpretation of it, of like, if maybe they got the wrong address, they left it at the wrong address, and like they were there not because of the delivery person's fault, but because like Chipotle mixed something up, or maybe someone else came in and stole my order and they were waiting to get remade. Yeah, I don't. It's amazing that the system works almost all the time.
Yeah.
An obvious exploit of the system that I would think is like, if ever you're hungry, you go into a random Chipotle and you just pick a random bag off the shelf and leave. I'm surprised that doesn't happen more often. It's really cool that society works most of the time.
Yeah. There's an interesting story from back when I was actually going into an office in downtown, and there's like, I went to this Jimmy John's probably once a week, and they used to have the rack of like the to-go orders or whatever right by the door. And then after a while, I saw that it was moved way to the back of the store, and I asked why, and they said someone kept coming in and stealing bags.
Oh, man.
And apparently moving it to the back of the store fixed the problem. So, yeah.
That's funny to me, because like, you would think that's not that much harder.
Yeah, I don't know.
Walk to the back of the store. But I guess for the person who's like thinking in short enough terms that they're gonna steal a sandwich, having just that little extra bit of friction does it, that like is a meaningful amount of a barrier in the way to get their free sandwich.
It reminded me of the social experiment where, and who knows if you can replicate this, there's all sorts of problems with social experiments, but if you are like, I don't remember what the task was, making change or something, I can't remember, but if you had a big picture of someone staring at you, then the people were more truthful than if they didn't have a big picture of someone staring at them.
Interesting.
I wonder if that's like social pressure, even if it's not a real person.
Yeah. Maybe that's my problem. I got little squinty eyes. I need like big old googly eyes on a hat or something, so people stop stealing stuff from me. Good. I'm glad we sorted that out. Cool. I think that's all I have. We're only at 43 minutes though. Anything else you want to chat about?
There was something I saw just before this podcast. I don't know if there's anything interesting we can say about it, but so Y Combinator, their original deal, the one they had last month was $120,000 for 7% of the company, and now it is $120,000 for 7% of the company, but 300 and the rest of it up to $500K as an automatic safe, which means if you ever raise more money, so you get $500K. If you ever raise more money, it converts at whatever valuation you have when you raise more money.
Oh, interesting.
Otherwise, you just get to keep it. So now instead of $120K, it's $500K. Which is a lot of money. Like,
yeah,
that's significant. I don't know if there's anything we can say about that, but that was an interesting thing that just came out.
It went from 120K to 120K plus $500,000.
120K plus 380.
Yeah. Okay. Total of 500K.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. I wonder why they're doing that. Is angel VC space getting more crowded? Is there more competition now?
So there's a couple things. One, they said in the blog post they've kind of wanted to do this for a long time, and they've just recently been able to because they had several of their investments IPO. So like I know Ginkgo Bioworks did, and like they just have a lot of much bigger companies having valuation or having liquidity events, so they actually have more money. But the other thing is they kind of were doing this already because they automatically did follow-on rounds. And so if you raised money and you wanted to re-raise from YC, then they would automatically raise your new valuation. Or they would automatically put money in. So they're kind of already doing this. You're just getting the money later. But now they can give you all the money up front. Yeah, it just feels... It's just interesting because it feels like people will build different companies knowing they have 500K in the bank instead of 120.
Yeah.
So I wonder if this is going to, because they did an experiment before where people automatically got more investment from, I can't remember who it was, but a third party. They would automatically invest in all YC companies at some valuation, and they actually found that to be detrimental because people spent a lot more money faster. They didn't stay as lean for as long. So I wonder if that will sort of change how people think about money. I don't know.
Interesting. I'd like to chew on this a little bit, because some interesting thoughts that come to mind are like, I had forgotten for a while that the initial YC investment is comparatively so low that that seems like a really good strategy to just make a lot of $120,000 bets. And then you don't really care about each individual one because, 1 out of 50 is going to be Dropbox. And then, okay, great. That's paid for another, 1,000 of these sort of investments. That's a really cool model. And something that I think Earnest Capital and Tiny Seed. Did Earnest Capital change their name? Or it's now Earnest Capital.
Earnest Capital changed to Calm Company Fund.
Calm Company Fund, that's right. That seems like a good game. Make a bunch of smaller bets in more companies, and then because of the nature of tech, you're going to get disproportionate returns.
Yeah, and something that Calm Company Fund and Tiny Seed would actually say is that they're making slightly different bets. They're still making several of them, but they want lower valuations but higher success rates for their companies. So, like YC is definitely, if you IPO, then you return our whole fund kind of bets. Both Calm Company Fund, which is slightly harder to say than Earnest Capital. That's interesting. They had to change it because of a trademark infringement or something like that.
Gross.
Anyway, but Calm Company and Tiny Seed, and then there was Indie VC, but Indie VC actually shut down, partly because it's a difficult game to make a lot of sort of smaller bets actually than it is to make the big bets. But because of because of the type of companies that they want to kind of support, they have to make these smaller bets. So, yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. I don't have much more to say about that other than it's interesting.
I'm curious how having access to that much more money is going to change the strategy of founders going into YC. If that's going to be detrimental now, because, like you said, they're not as lean. If there is something about that scrappy bootstrapper mindset that you try to get things done cheaply, because $120,000 for a company like actually isn't that much money. In college, I was like, oh my god, $120,000. Where do I sign?
Well, and it used to be like 12. So they used to their very first few years, and those first few years produced Dropbox and Reddit and lots of big companies.
What an investment!
Yeah.
Has your calculus shifted at all with this information?
No.
If you'd want to go to YC, okay.
I mean, I would. YC is it's still possible that someday in the future maybe I want to make a very big company, but right now that is the opposite of what I want. So I think I've talked about this before. There's a point in time when I was very interested in making a very big company with a lot of impact, and then I was like, no, actually I don't want to do that at all. And that's still where I am, so I can't say that my idea around that will change or not in the future. But right now, no, I don't want that.
Personally, I think my personal investment strategy aligns much more with Tiny Seed or Calm Company. Of like, I would like things. I would like a lot of things with a small market cap with a higher chance of success, as opposed to like putting all my eggs in one basket and I have this new social app and spending 60 hours a week on it, and that's going to be the thing I do. I think I was having this conversation with a friend the other day who, in the context of having kids, my friend is putting everything he has into career and working these insane 60-hour shifts, doing medical research and all this really cool stuff with medicine in wilderness settings of like climbing Everest and doing stuff with crazy CPAP machines. And we were roommates in college, and we're sort of along the same track of going to become doctors. And it's interesting to see that our paths have diverged now. Of like he's putting all his eggs into this one basket of like medical career, research focused in wilderness medicine, and I'm spreading myself out more of like, well, I'm gonna put a little bit of energy into investing, and I'm gonna put a little bit of energy into like health and improving the humidity in my room, and I'm gonna put a little energy into having kids, and I'm gonna put a little energy into growing File Inbox, but also some energy into all these other things. And when an opportunity comes up, like making a Wordle solver, well, I have the bandwidth to be able to do that, and maybe it turns into something, and maybe it doesn't. Maybe the only thing that happens is, you know, the CEO of Vercel retweets me, and that feels kind of cool. And like, it feels like if I make enough of those bets, broader, more like holistically, that is going to maximize the chances of living a good life. I think I used to be in this. Well, that's not quite true. I used to be very curious about the idea that like, if the only thing you did in life was make a whole bunch of money, that guaranteed that you were going to have a good life, because money is the one thing missing that like any problem you have can be solved by enough money. But came to a new position in critically thinking about that, of realizing like rich people sometimes have worse problems than I have, of like, if you haven't put any work into relationships and you're trying to fix all your relationships with money, like that's going to be so much worse. And health is something that's difficult to buy if you let it go too quickly. All these rich CEOs who have like heart problems and haven't exercised in the last 40 years, like it doesn't matter how many millions of dollars they can spend for the best personal trainer in the world now. Like they have lost something that they could have kept more easily if they'd been investing a little bit of energy in the long term. So I feel affirmed that that's how I'd like to be living my life. I think that's a better strategy.
Yeah. I wish that we could live multiple lives, because I think it'd be so extremely interesting. Like pour everything you have, 100 hours a week into, like one thing and really accomplish something awesome.
Yeah.
But given that I have one life, I don't want to do that. And so if I had multiple lives, one of mine would definitely be that. Like I think it'd be super interesting to do that, but with one life, not at the expense of everything else. And so that's why I live a way more balanced life, because you only got one life. Yeah. Also, so Paul Graham has a few great quotes about stuff like this, like billionaire. Well, so one is like, as your startup grows and you get more money, right, and you are more successful, the volume of problems doesn't go down; it actually goes up. They are more. They are fancier problems. I think he says, like, you're worrying about the air conditioning going out in your London office instead of like, I don't know, whatever, not having termites in your apartment or something. Yeah. But the volume of worry doesn't go down. And then the other thing he says is like, billionaires are working, like they have the same amount of problems that we do, probably more, but they just can't complain about it. Like once you're rich, if you complain about things, then people are like, but you have $1 billion.
Yeah.
And so they can't complain about anything, otherwise they get criticized. So I think those are interesting thoughts. So with my one life, I'll be happy with the well dispersed, middle of the road kind of existence. Yeah,
that feels like a good place to end it. Words of wisdom from Chris Ashard. Good. I agree. I think. Yeah. One last thought from me, of you mentioned wanting to be able to live multiple lives. That's what I feel like I get out of books. I've been on this kick of reading a bunch of these biographies of like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and stuff, and I feel like I, in a way, have gotten to live part of their lives. I got to see their choices and where those choices led them, and I have the advantage now of like I get to see I get to see where the choices led them. Like living your life in this way led you to this spot. And now I get to take a step back and look at, okay, well, is that a spot that I would want to go to? Well, I like this part of it, but I wouldn't want this part, and I'm not sure how you could get the one without the other. And actually, I'm kind of happy with the way that I'm doing it. And maybe let me take this one piece of this passion of like diligently working towards this thing of you have an idea for how you want the world to be better, but like don't work on that so much that you sacrifice your humanity, that you're not allowing yourself to have human connection and vulnerability, and that you place such an importance on these goals that you lose track of the day-to-day. That's my life hack to living multiple lives. Read books.
Yeah, that's neat. I like that.
Cool. In that case, that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week. Goodbye.